Hey guys, it's Upa here. So today we'll go through boss Okmin in Fiery Abyss in Demon Conquest. So the requirement for this one is 500 million, and let's take a look at what the boss does. So basic attack, pretty straightforward, inflicting burn. His special 2 causes his servants to pursue and attack random enemies. For his passive, he summons 4 servants, and these servants take only 1 point of damage. And then for his special 4, he will enter burn injury status, and when an enemy is under burn injury status, you will deal 0 damage to the boss. And the way to get rid of this is by launching basic attacks proactively. So there's one more thing which you must look out to, which is the minion skills itself. You'll see this in game, but before we do that, let's talk about what you need. So you will need a bunch of survivability, of course. This boss actually does hurt quite a decent amount, and you will need some control effect heroes, unless you're able to simply brute force your way through the fight. So let's take a look at what some people are using. Most of the people which show up for me are simply brute forcing through the fight with pure damage. If you have weaker characters, chances are this sort by similarity team will show other things people are using beyond what you see here. But generally, if you don't have these more expensive limited time hero options, you will need heroes which can do CC. So we kind of achieve this somewhat through Ans, which does some CC, and Dianmu, which does some CC. But the damage dealers that you use are the main ones that require you to do some CC effects for the fight, and we'll see now. So as we enter the fight, you can take a look and see what the minions do. And over here, you can see what the minions do over here is that whenever launching basic attack or pursuing attacks each time, if Searing Fire is stacked to 3 layers, Okmin's servant will slay the target directly, which will kill you immediately. So if Searing Fire own is fewer than 3 layers, then he will get one of these Searing Fire layers. And this is why control effects is really important. Removes all Searing Fire when an enemy hero inflicts control effect on Okmin's servant. So you do need some CC heroes over here. So as long as you have some heroes which do some sort of CC, then we should be fine. So let's get right into the fight. And in the first turn, we don't have that effect by Okmin where we get, I think it's called burn injury. Yeah, so the first turn we don't get burn injury, which is a good time to get all your damage you can in. So let's straight away go with dealing the damage record on our Ans, and then dealing big chunks of damage with our Indra over here. Then we just have Vasily for some additional damage as well, which will be useful. My Vasily isn't built too well, so maybe you guys can have a better build on him if you do have him, or you can have better options. So the team we are using here actually has no limited time heroes, although these heroes that we are using all are definitely very strong, but this definitely isn't a hard requirement for the team that you have. Whatever you guys have could be better than what I'm using here. I tried to use a more accessible option, even though these definitely are some top end characters, none of them are limited time heroes. So I wasn't really paying attention, but the boss did attack us actually. He took his first turn, and now you can see this flame icon that each of our characters have, and this is the burn injury effect, I believe. So I think this requires us to now use basic attacks, if not we wouldn't be dealing damage to the boss. So let's do that over here. We do one set of basic attacks with all our damage dealers, so Vasily, Ans, and our Indra. Our Kalana and Dianmu aren't here for damage, so we can just use our regular skills. So Dianmu can just proceed using her special 2 and 4 combo. Our Indra, I believe, does need to use his basic attack over here. And once you do your basic attack and get rid of the burn injury status, you can proceed and continue doing damage, which is pretty straightforward. So let's just keep going. We are at 368 million damage already, and after triggering the damage record, we are getting very close to that 500 million mark. So you can see the boss, or rather the minions, actually do quite a bit of damage, so you may need more survivability than what I'm using here, which is only Kalana. The free-to-play options, of course, would be Nordek and Santa. Those are both very, very solid options. And anyway, we are very closely approaching the requirement for this boss. So 496 million damage, and after taking a turn with obviously, that should be enough for us to meet the requirement over here. 507 million, very nice. And let's just trigger Ans's damage record one more time before we call it a fight, and we see what damage we're at. So triggering the damage record, we are 617 million, way above the 500 million that was required, and only within 3 turns of the boss. And at the same time, our Vasily died over here. We did kind of go for a setup where we focus more on damage than survivability, but of course you can focus more on survivability, maybe removing Vasily, and then you will be able to take more turns and deal more damage overall, right? But anyway, the requirement was only 500 million, so this was definitely a success. So that's all we have for today, and I'll see you guys next time.